Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports. Today we have right here at Real Auto Ranch the 2014 Nissan Versa Note. This is the real video, the real review, where we will be going into detail on this all-new vehicle for 2014. So let's hop in the driver's seat, take a drive, and let you know what this car's all about. All right, so here we are in the 2014 Nissan Versa Note. And so this is an interesting vehicle. We've put a lot of miles on this. We've taken it out on the highway. We've had some really interesting weather patterns lately here in Colorado. So, you know, we've had a lot of rain and even some hail, and thankfully the car was inside and safe for that. So Nissan should appreciate that. But, you know, the Note is an interesting vehicle because really it's not smaller than a normal Versa per se. It is just now the 5-door version of the Versa, whereas before you could get the hatchback or the sedan. The Note is the new complement to the sedan Versa for the 2014 model year. And I think that this vehicle is kind of interesting. You're going to see here in a second, I'm going to pull out to the left here, and I'm going to give it a lot of gas because, you know, we've got a big speed limit coming up here. Okay, that's 45, 47, there you go, when I finally got off the gas. So that is one of the things about this car. It's a 1.6 liter, about 109 horsepower, so it's a 4-cylinder. It has a CVT transmission. It is going to be your economy 5-door hatchback style of vehicle. I think one of its biggest competitors, if you will, that it will vie for market share with is really the Honda Fit. The Fit, though, is going to feel pretty different from this Nissan styling and branding, so we'll talk about more of that in a little bit here. But so what you have is this 1.6 liter and this CVT, and this is going to be one of the few vehicles like this that have the CVT. You're also going to find that in some of the Scion brands, but you're not going to find it as much in the Ford Fiesta, Ford Focus. And this vehicle is going to fit more in that Focus category because it is bigger than a Fiesta. But, you know, from a pricing perspective, this is an interesting vehicle because we are in what is deemed the top of the package, the top of the range. And so this is going to be your SV car with your SL package and your tech pack on it as well, which is going to push the price. Getting into one of these vehicles, you can, you know, see, we even have a horn and we honk at people who are driving silly. But so in this vehicle, 13,000, almost 14,000 will get you into this vehicle entry level. And then you're going to be able to option this vehicle up with this SL, with the tech package and the SL premium package, basically, all the way up to this MSRP, which is just over $20,000. And I don't know about you, but see, I wait to look at the Maronis in these vehicles until we really have to talk about the pricing, because I want to experience the car unbiased of what it costs. And I have to say that $20,000 really surprised me for this vehicle, because I think you could probably, in fact, I know you can push a Honda Fit to that price level, but I think the styling and the packaging of it is very different from what you're finding here in the Nissan Versa Note. And there's just one of the people I know used to have a Honda Fit, and she was like, well, you know, this nav screen, this has nav, like you can see here on the screen, it's showing where we are. And she's like, well, the nav screen in the Fit's bigger, the gauges are a little more, I don't know, higher end looking, maybe techier looking. So this Versa Note is going to cater to a more conservative design language, or people who like a more conservative look. It's going to be a little softer on the outside than something like the Fit or even the Ford Focus. In the inside, it's definitely more conservative. It's a well thought out interior, but I mean, it's got great storage, an upper glove box area, a lower glove box area. It's got some good center console stuff here, but no center console storage, just some areas to keep things down here like a wallet and so on and so forth. the thing is that I find from a driving perspective, it's just very noisy at speed. You feel like you really have to get on this vehicle. That's 55 now, 58. And so we're cruising along here at on this 2-lane country road. And it's kind of a vehicle that requires, especially here in Colorado with the altitude and the elevation changes throughout the city, requires a lot of acceleration. Even when you're on cruise control, you'll find that the motor's wound up to 5,000 RPM, even though it redlines at 6.25, 6.5 there. And what you're going to find is that it's just not a highway car, at least not here in Colorado. It definitely is an in-town vehicle. The mileage, though, I mean, it'll do 31 city and 40 highway basically, so right around a 35 mile an hour or mile per gallon combined, and that's great. I mean, it's got some class-leading fuel economy. It's got some class-leading features like the around view monitor in the rear backup camera. So 3/4 of the screen is the backup camera, and the other quarter is the around view monitor. But the car's so small, I'm not really sure the around view monitor is necessarily all that much of a leading feature to make you choose this over, say, something like a Hyundai Accent or a Kia Rio or a Kia Forte sedan, or even something like, as I said, the Honda Fit. You've got you've got a lot of cars that could fit into this category. With your Subaru Impreza would be not too much bigger than this. So, and from a performance perspective, I see this car driving a lot more like something like the Impreza Sport, with the underpowered 4-cylinder from my perspective and the CVT transmission, which, we've done our reviews on it, and I'm just not a big fan of the Impreza Sport, manual or automatic. But definitely in this Versa Note, the thing I notice is that Nissan has, a nice design language in here, some nice finishes like this checked insert piece in the doors. It's got multi-tone on the seats, some nice some contrast stitching, I should say, and heated seats in this package. However, it's still going to be something where I feel like $20,000 pushing the limit at the upper end of this. Now, if you're looking at a lower end model of one of these, where you're closer to the 13, 14, 15,000, I think it really makes a lot more sense in that package level. But all in all, driving this vehicle is going to be a mixed bag. It is louder on the inside when you're driving along. However, it has, decent steering, decent acceleration, not breakneck speed, but it'll get you up to speed and do it safely. And you've got nice features like, the steering wheel controls and the navigation that I've mentioned. Analog, manual controls for the AC. And I will tell you that the one thing we've noticed in this vehicle is that the AC is super cold in this car, even when it's warm. Now, this vehicle in particular, our test vehicle, seems to have a slight issue with the AC unit, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to Nissan and say, hey, what's going on here? But what it's doing is where we have, see, it's doing it again. That is on number 4 blower on high, and almost nothing's coming out the top here. What we're finding is that sometimes when you muck around with the vent controls and turn it back on, or you end up driving at higher speeds, see, now it's blowing harder than it was, that is changing. So I don't know if that's a common issue with these Versa Notes. I doubt it is, to be honest. These press cars are really putting through their paces. But the thing I notice is that everything inside this Versa Note is going to be conservative in design and styling, and it's going to be simplistic, and that's going to really appeal to a lot of people. I think that if you were to cross shop the Versa with the Sentra is going to feel a lot higher end, even though I had similar thoughts about the Sentra and its power. The Sentra is great from an interior perspective and great from a trunk cargo perspective. And ironically, the Versa is the same way. I have the seat back and I'm, 6 foot or so, and I can really drive this car comfortably and be comfortable all the way an hour and a half up to, the Fort Collins area and back. And the great thing is we had a suitcase in the trunk, a passenger from out of town, and a passenger here in the front seats. And the person in the back seat said, man, this actually is not bad. You look at this car pull up, and he was like, are we really all going to fit in that? And certainly we did, and it's got a lot of leg room. Nobody's knees are in the seats. And so I think that's the key, is that my 6'2", 270-ish father can sit in the back seat comfortably with me driving in front of him. And that is not something you find every day in a car as tidy as this Versa Note. I think it's technically got more back seat space than almost any other car in its class. And so I think use of this car is going to define whether or not you're happy with it. If you're looking for something sportier and more performance oriented, I don't think the Note's really going to do it for you. But if you're looking for something that has a nice design, this new 2014 model definitely has a nice exterior. It's got some nice curves. It has that squash line that we talked about in our real first impressions that looks like a ball bouncing off the wall, bouncing off the ground, and returning to the player. So you've got all of that kind of design cue and thought put into the vehicle, but it's definitely meant for in-town driving, parking in the city, and I think it's really meant to be a car for someone who is not really worried about flashy or does super high-end feel, but someone who wants a lot of car and flexibility in cargo area and room for their passengers. So that's really the trade-off, I think. But I still, in this model with all the options on it, I'm still thinking $20,000 is quite a lot, because we know from the Kia Forte that we tested with all the options and leather and navigation and all sorts of stuff like that it was at $25,000 MSRP, and that's only a $5,000 more than this, and it was a lot sportier, a lot more powerful. So that's kind of our thoughts on this car. I think you definitely want to drive it, cross shop it, and see what you think about this car. And if you like it, then that's going to be the selling point. If this is the car you like over the competition, go test drive the Versa, this is the Versa Note. Go test drive the Honda Fit. Go test drive something from Hyundai and Kia. They have a couple different models in the range. You could go try to drive some things from Chevrolet. You could drive, heck, if you wanted to go alternative energy, this is going to be a very similar design and feel to something like the Nissan Leaf, which would be in its same family of the Nissan brand if you like the styling. And it too has a very simple interior, but it has some great features like navigation and heated seats, just like this car, but you would be all electric. Definitely looking at a slightly higher price point there, but you do still get all those tax rebates from having the electric car. The problem is that you're going to have to look at a Volt if you want something that won't give you range anxiety. If you know that you travel distance, Nissan has not yet come up with a hybrid vehicle like the Volt, where it's an electric hybrid like that, where it has the range extending mode. So that's I think this is a very serviceable car. It has features like the push button start and the keyless entry and the navigation and heated seats, and maybe it will fit your lifestyle, and maybe that's the most important part. So go check them out. We'll have the real wrap-up coming up next, so stay tuned. So that's the real video, the real review on the 2014 Nissan Versa Note. This is your 5-door hatchback version of the Nissan Versa, so it complements the sedan for 2014. It is all new, as we've been talking about, and it has some pretty cool features like the divide and hide, now there's a mouthful, right? Divide and hide storage feature inside in the back, an adjustable rear load floor. It has the tech package in this particular model we're testing, and then also the SL package for the navigation and all the tech features. It will start right about $13,000, above $13,000 at a base, but when you option it out like the one we have here, you'll be right about $20,000 MSRP. It's a neat vehicle because it has one of the best storage capacity or cargo capacity and interior volume capacities in its class. It is leading in the interior volume area at about 113 cubic feet. It'll do 31 miles per gallon in town and 40 out on the freeway, which again is tipping some of those class leading areas, ticking that checkbox, if you will. It has 109 horsepower coming from a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine mated to the stock standard Nissan CVT transmission. It's not exactly an exciting car to drive. You will notice with the CVT that the gerbils are in there running pretty hard, but it is a great in-town car, easy to park, and it's got some good looks with the squash line down the side that we talked about during the review. And at a price point that can be between 13 and 20K, you can probably find a vehicle that'll fit you. If you want to shop the competition, you're going to look at something like the Fiesta or even maybe a Focus. You'll look at smaller cars from Hyundai and Kia as well in the Forte and in the Elantra, or maybe even in the Accent in the Hyundai brand. You're going to look at cars that are going to go for a wide range of prices too, depending on what you're looking for. But know that this one from Nissan has a lot of great features and will have the reliability you've come to expect from Nissan. Don't forget, you could also cross-shop this with the Honda Fit, which is probably the vehicle that looks the most like it. I'm Jonathan McGrew, right here from Real Auto Ranch. This is Real Auto Reports, and we'll see you down the road.